Hello there. It's wonderful to have you join us again here on Joy Asaya Live. It's always fantastic. Like you already know, we talk about issues, trending national issues, international sometimes, but as long as it relates to you and I. Today is International Youth Day 2024, a day set aside to celebrate young people and bring to fore those issues that they often face. And as you would already know, Nigeria is not an exception. So much has been going on speaking about young people and bringing to fore their problems. And that's what we'll be discussing on today's issues, today's edition right here. It promises to be very interesting. I have my guests seated, young people as well, doing something to change the narrative for the Nigerian youth. We'll go for a short break. When we return, we'll get into the discussion and I'll introduce my guests and get to the crux of the matter. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is still Joy Asaya Live. Like I told you, we are celebrating the International Youth Day right here, and it's coming at a time when it seems like young people just want to be heard so bad. They want their voices out there. They want the government to acknowledge them. There's been that push for young people in political participation. There's been the push for young people with sustainable initiatives that will get them employed and get them, harnessing the potentials they have inherent. Well, young people are in the studio to discuss all of this, and it's exciting to have, I think I'll just start with you, Yager Benjamin Terver. I hope I pronounced it well. Like, I struggle a bit with Benue names.
Yager Benjamin TV.
TV, okay? I thank you so much for coming. He's the founder and executive director of the Beyond Development for Africa's Youth Advancement Initiative, which is a frontline youth advocacy and policy-oriented organization with a mission to equip young people with skills and enabling environment to take the center stage for Africa's development towards social change through learning, collaborations, and creativity. There's so much more to that, but I will stop there. But he is really interested in the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, especially the education, health, governance, and climate. In the studio also is another gentleman. Should I call you a gentleman? You're a comrade, you're an ambassador. I'm not sure if those qualify as. I also have Ambassador Austin Igweshi. You may already know him as a regular here on the show. He is the Executive Director, Center for Peace Advocacy and Sustainable Development, and has been doing so much in the youth space, ensuring that young people do have a voice. And in fact, it's not just in Nigeria, the whole of Africa, really. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming to the studio. Benjamin, I think I'll start with you. What would you think the Nigerian youth want above everything, especially on a day like this where, you know, the theme for this International Youth Day is Youth Digital Pathways for Sustainable Development. And we've seen the inroads that these young people have done when it comes to technology, when it comes to digital creativity and innovation. So when we bring it to Nigeria, often these international days sometimes are not relatable, but this one hits spot on. What do the Nigerian young people want above everything?
It's thank you for having me, and it's nice to be here. It's 24 good years since the inception of the celebration of the International Day of Youth by the United Nations, and this is also 6 years to 2030, which also marks the end of the Sustainable Development Goal, as well as the Youth 2030 goal. And you can imagine what it has been for the past 24 years celebrating the International Youth Day.
Exactly.
So the first International Youth Day was celebrated on the 12th of August 2000, directly at 12th of August 2000. And it's been same celebrations, different themes, and you can imagine what it has been for us being in the front line in youth advocacy and as well as ensuring that we create an enabling environment for everyone to live in. So most times it has always been about young people coming into the room, being cheered up. Yeah, you're doing well.
Acknowledge them, see them.
Exactly. So it's much more of like, yeah, you've participated in the race and you've won the accolades.
Now what?
Now, well done. Take the prize and then go home. So it has always been that narrative before now. And if you've heard the voices of the young people before now, within this past couple of years, from 2020 down to this very moment, most especially the young people in Nigeria, which re-echoes the voices of young people in Africa. So if it doesn't happen in Nigeria, it doesn't happen for Africa at all. So it's also important to understand that the young people in Nigeria has really been clamoring. We have been clamoring for an enabling environment, for a healthy environment to live. And by that, it means that it's not just about designing programs for young people, it is also allowing young people to design programs for themselves, implementing such programs, as well as learning from those programs to ensure full participation of young people. Taking advantage of the digitalization, which is coincidentally, it happens to be that there's a digital global compact, and ahead of the Youth Summit of the Future, the General UN Summit of the Future coming in September, and there's a global compact, and we hope that by that it will give young people in Nigeria a voice by the implementation of the global compact, to give Nigerians, young Nigerians, a voice to push in beyond implementation. So a lot has to be said. A lot of Nigerians have spoken loud and clear during the past few protests that has happened in Nigeria. We want meaningful participation, we want meaningful growth and development. We want safe and healthy environment for us to strive. Not all young people are interested in leadership or governance, but young people are interested in safe and healthy environment. And by that, it means that you must give an equitable, just, sustainable systems to work.
Wow, that's a good way of, putting everything into perspective. I think I just come to Ambassador right now. I mean, you've attended workshops and trainings and conferences across the world, and especially around Africa. And again today, in fact, I saw the police force, the Nigerian police force even organized an International Youth Day. It seems like there's so much activities going on. But beyond this event and narratives and everything we do, events, workshops, conferences and all, what do you think is the most impactful thing we should take from the day?
Thank you so much, Joy. Just as my co-brother have said, youth around across Africa are pushing for a better system in governance. Beyond conferences, beyond events, there are movement to ensure that the system are there for young people to thrive. The system are there for young people to have that enabling environment to do the things they want to do to thrive in the society. In Africa, especially in Nigeria, when you look at Nigeria, Nigeria is the motherland for African youth.
Well,
so when you talk about
that's arguable these days when you
when
see,
you talk about
when you see what others are doing, really.
When you talk about youth, you can, especially in Africa, you cannot talk about youth without mentioning Nigeria. True. So I have come to work with youth across the 55 member states of the African Union, and each time I come in contact with them, they would want to associate with Nigerian youth. They would want to come to Nigeria. They want to do something with Nigeria because they see Nigerian youth as very innovative, very enterprising.
Very true.
And they have a lot in stock for them. So beyond what civil society do or what individuals do, there are things government need to do more, especially to hear the voices of the young people. There have been social movement that young people are speaking. This is what we want. It's for the government to give young people that listening ear, bring them to the dialogue table, listen to them. In as much as they listen, another thing is that doing what has been tabled before them. If the government can be able to, give a listening ear to the young people who are pushing for change to happen, who are pushing for things to get better for the country, because they are the future. So they believe that, okay, if the government becomes well, it will impact them and impact their generation. Right. So beyond that, government need to listen to young people, and as well as not just listening to them, you know, carrying out their burden, what they have presented before them on the table, and implementing them. Sometimes, okay, they will say, let us dialogue. After the round table dialogue, it ends there. No further implementation. You see that young people will go back and say, okay, this thing that we have tabled before you, it has not been implemented. And they begin to also, yes, they begin to, you know, push for that to be implemented. So beyond just having to attend the event, though there are so many, awareness is part of it. Without coming together to talk, you cannot talk about implementation. So when young people have come together to bring out what their intentions are, their aspirations, now it is not left for government to be able to build that trust, you know, by implementing what young people have said they want. Okay, it may not be their want, it may be the need, because there's a difference between want and need. Exactly. This is what young people need, not actually what they want. Government may want something for them, but this is what young people need. Okay. And their need is what is paramount to what they want.
I mean, I like how he put it. There's a difference between want and need. But who set the pace? Who shows us exactly what should be done beyond what I may need? Because, while answering that, I would like you to respond to the fact that digital transformation is the way, I mean, globally. And you've seen that the Nigerian youth, without having this, the Californian Silicon Valley and all that, you see that they're doing so much. Unfortunately, the pathway has also been a bit, would I say, shallow and very, with a lot of hurdles, because instead of looking at the legitimate way of getting into digital innovations and solutions, the world knows us for all the wrong things when it comes to the digital world, which is, you know, Yahoo and the internet fraud that young people have used technology instead. There are several who aren't. However, how do we change that image?
So first of all, I want to continue from where he stopped. He made mention of orientation and awareness. So we as young people have been given the mandate. The total population of Nigeria is an approximate of over 220 million right. Nigerians. And out of this over 200 million Nigerians, we have over 120 young people. And in that 120 young people, we have a demographic of over from 14 to 24 as the margin line of that 120.
Wow.
Yes.
A lot of young people with young energies.
Yes. Data speaks very loud in the sense that as Nigerians, when you made mention of, if it doesn't happen in Nigeria, Nigeria is beyond what it is seen in Africa. Nigeria is not just the giant of Africa. It has, we've been given the strength as one of the largest youth, if not the largest youth population in the world. That has been our strength, right. And it has always been not just our strength, but it has been our own yearning point to development. So it is in that regards that we have to, as a team, as young people, come together, first of all, build collaboration, build sustainable partnerships. Part of one of the SDG goals is the partnership. So without partnerships, we can't achieve all what we want to. And when you asked how can we even achieve this? First of all, partnership with the government.
Partnership with the government. A lot of people would be listening to you and say, because we have this orientation that for you to actually have the interest of young people at heart, you must be against government. You must be against all policies of government. So when you say partnership with the government, to what end?
So first of all, I don't think you have to be violent or you have to be rude.
Everything.
No, you don't. You don't. So we've come across different perspectives towards governance that works. And one of the perspectives that works is negotiation.
Negotiation?
Yes. As young people should learn to negotiate with the government. What do the policies state? How are the policies implemented? How many young people are brought on seats on those policy making boards? And how many young people are even around when making those policies? So most times we push away, bringing back towards the level of awareness and orientation he made mention of. We need to start sitting as young people, making us understand our strengths and our powers. Young people have a lot of powers they don't even know about.
Right.
And this is part of it. Information is key. Information is knowledge. I understand that there is a lot of ignorance in the society because of the poor access to education.
Semi-literate situation Nigeria has seen.
Certainly. So, and because of that, we have delved away from even the normal norm. Most of the issues, when I start speaking about awareness and maybe reorientation, people might not necessarily understand. But giving you a very simple example, what does the policy say about the youth in ICT? What does the policy say about youth in agriculture, youth in tech? These are policies. Nigeria is one of the best countries in terms of policy.
Of course.
We have almost all the best policies. But what happens to the implementation? So now this is now where we come as young people, as negotiators, as partners. You have signed to this policy.
Not to mention the many international treaties that compel.
So that's why I don't even push towards that now. So
Exactly.
you've signed to these policies. Let us, as young people, help you to implement it. We are not just digital natives. We are change makers, innovators.
With the powers and energies for it.
Yes. So this is not just a normal discussion that you will just come say, please give us some money, we want to run a project. No, you've understood the fact that there's a policy and there's a policy implementation framework, and not just the policy implementation framework. There's also a learning that has to be done, an accountability framework that must be designed to ensure everything works effectively. So what are we doing as young people with our over 120 million population? One of the things we can be able to do is to, yes, sit down with these people. If you don't see them as friends, you have to make them your allies.
Allies, exactly.
So these are not conversations that we have to, at various points in time. We've tried the protests, we've tried even carrying placards, we've tried fighting, we've tried shouting.
Obviously has not yielded the
But for what
necessary
we
result.
have learned so far, negotiation, bring them on board. This is what you've stated. Even if we're not going to achieve 100% today, this is 2024 for crying out loud. 2020, they started celebrating International Youth Day in 2000. What have we achieved so far? Nothing. The SDG goals, you've seen the reports. Just 17% globally.
Just 17.
And Nigeria, what is Nigeria's
Well,
ranking on
when
it?
we talk about global, the Sustainable Development Goals, some of us get very weary. You know, we discuss this a lot when you meet people and they're like, yeah, I think I've heard about it, Millennium Development. I'm like, we've long gone past Millennium Development, and that's the level of awareness. But let me come to Ambassador Igweshi. Would you say the Nigerian youth is ready? Because we see them, we know the powers they have when it comes to political campaigns. They are the back rock of this. They fill the campaign venues. What happens when they have to sit at that table that decides how much youth pay for forms, for instance, nomination forms? What happens when somebody is suggesting another who is obviously not fit for the position? What happens? Why have we relegated ourselves, or why have young people not championed it when it comes to these decisions? Like he said, what happens? We can do so much in all aspects of the society.
Thank you. I think when it comes to issue of politics or political party politics and participation of young people, especially at party level, you know, politics, as they say, is a game of interest. You know, maybe young people, sometimes they are divided. Sometimes they come together. Sometimes it depends on interest. So, for example, if you and I are on the same political party, and I am 65, you are 30, and both of us, they present a form. Both of us buys a form to contest, maybe for governor, state of assembly, something anywhere. And we have a large number of young people, maybe in the political party, who will vote for me to become the flag bearer, or you see that their politics begin to play.
like it should.
Yeah.
And it's vicious all over the world.
Yeah.
And that's one thing the Nigerian youth don't seem to get it.
Yeah.
To get. Nobody brings you a platter at your beck and call.
Yeah.
It is vicious all over the world.
So there you will see that it that become of interest. Maybe I may have the competence, but because I do not have the resources, you that have the resources may have your buy-in.
But you may not have the resources, but you have, like he said, 120 million of your type. And those 120 million often will not vote for you. And I want to understand why. Make it make sense to me.
That is what I'm saying. Interest.
Financial inducement?
Yes. Their interest, it may not be, their interest because of how the society is, or the level of poverty, I may say, or the level of what they can get at the moment to feed themselves. But some persons are not like that. But majority, let me say, they want to align to get something to hold. Maybe some persons believe that, okay, even though if I vote for you, you may not be able to, do what you say. Let me get what I have at the moment.
Right.
So they get induced with resources, finances, and all of that. And they need to they change their mind and all of that. And these people go behind, build allies. So most young people don't build allies. They don't build partnership. Other people have more allies. They build more allies in political parties and all of that. That is why you see them winning primary elections. They have built allies. But young people need to learn how to build allies. So starting, if I want to contest for an election, I don't need to be in Abuja why election it will be holding in my local government.
Right.
I need to go back to the grassroots, build allies with grassroots people to understand their need, What these other people have already built those allies, and with the resources they have, they can manipulate other people. But young people need to understand that they need to begin to change their mindset towards that. In as much as we are pushing for reform, we want a better governance, and we cannot achieve that without having young people on the government. So the more young people get into the government, the more we begin to experience the change we want to see. And it starts with political party participation. If young people can change their mindset, come together for the example I gave. If you and I are contesting in a particular political party, if young people that are there join hands together and say this person must emerge as the candidate for that party, the person must emerge. But when it comes to that, they will be divided because of interest, because of what they need to gain, or the promises that have been made to them, that if I win, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that.
Okay.
From then, the youth will be divided. And from there, you see the older people taking up what's supposed to be for young people.
So when will the beautiful ones be born?
So I feel the beautiful ones are already born, and part of what he said, that I'm always of a different opinion. I feel the orientation of Nigerians are a bit sacrosanct to virtually almost all the issues happening in Nigeria.
Okay.
And
in this instance, in this context?
Yes, yes. So what is the orientation of young Nigerians on politics itself? Why should I pick up a form as a young person to contest? Is it because it is now my turn to, or it favors me, the odds favors me, or it's because it is now for my constituents? Or is it because the zoning at various points in time
favors you?
Or because I'm a youth leader and because
it's only
of
natural that you would now evolve
exactly
there? Or there is an inherent, genuine need to solve problems?
Part of it. That's why you see part of the issues we have in the party system in Nigeria that I've always faulted. What is the orientation in voters' education, in civic education?
Right.
So that's why most people, you see, when they come up, I just want, it's my turn, it's 4 years, take my national cake and leave. In America, you know very well, forgive me to use America here.
You're forgiven.
Yeah, you know very well that it's either you are a Republican or a Democrat. And if you're a Republican, they know what you stand for. If you're a Democrat, you know what you stand for.
So the ideology.
The ideology, party ideology first. How many? Even I can bet you that even the state executives of various parties don't even know their party ideologies. Not even to talk of the national executives. They are just interested about
ideologies. Do they really have
Yes.
really cut out ideologies that differ from each other?
Yes, they do.
You mean the APC has an ideology that is different per se with
that's
that of
what
the
should be.
PDP?
That's what should be.
I'm just saying. You
Yes,
mentioned that
it is actually. It is.
That is very distinct.
Not really
Because
distinct. Yeah, so that's the issue.
I have gone through their. It's like they were born from the same mother.
That is exactly the issue here now.
Right.
When we started speaking about civic education, orientation, governance, politics, what is the orientation given? Is it the normal ideology of you coming to pick a form, contest, and then after the year rounds off, you're back to or trying to lift or move into the next position? Sustainability, impact, programs that have direct impact to our own lives, to your communities. We spoke about young people seeking for a healthy environment to live in. What happens to if issues affecting young people with social divide? Not just the social divide, the issues are affecting young people's education. People are affecting our economic values here in Nigeria. Outside all that, you know, most of the issues that has been cut across all the issues being discussed. If you should have a political party that should stand up and say, Party A, this is what they have done. So we've had the past few years, the blaming system will say, this is this party that caused these issues. So that means automatically they have already designed a mantra for their party, saying that yes, they are of different opinions and of different beliefs. This is how the system should work. This is how we will implement. Have we seen that? No, but you can see easily the old mentors now decamping to the various parties. It shows that they don't even have values.
Exactly.
So what are they teaching to the younger ones? So that's why when you see young men join into the system.
So is it intentional? I mean, we've gone half hour and I would like to go for a break. So we start the second half of the program.
Sure.
But I would just like to ask before we go ahead, is it intentional that we have not prioritized political education or civic education just so that the young person remains not understanding what it is he should be looking out for?
So I feel it's part intentional, but first of all, check the education system.
System.
So let's
what would be your sentence in response to that? Would you say it's intentional?
I don't think so, because there have been some kind of effort to increase awareness or civic education in Nigeria, but there are more to do to ensure that it gets to people it's supposed to get to, especially the National Orientation Agency, which claims to have offices in the 774 local government. Right. It is their mandate to ensure that people at the grassroots get the education they need, especially civic education in terms of voters, how they will vote and how they will participate in the election. I think they need to do more. They haven't done. They haven't met up their mandate.
I think the pressure on National Orientation Agency, I will now speak for National Orientation Agency.
That'll be after this break. Gentlemen, it's been interesting, but we have to go for a very short break. We're still discussing the International Youth Day, from Click to Progress, Digital Pathways for Sustainable Development. Well, it's an interesting one. Well, after this break, we'll open phone lines so that you too can contribute. I'd like you to contribute and tell me what you think you will want your government to do for you as a young person. I would like to hear all of that, but that'll be when we return from this.
While wrapping up the day, unwind with the reminiscence of the day's news from home and abroad. with Kaftan TV 7 p.m. news.
Good to have you join us on Kaftan News at 7.
Are living in up to 5% are young people. We propose the Harmony Symphony.
It's good to have you join us on Kaftan TV news at 7.
We found that the 10 naira tax is not actually sufficient.
National, foreign news headlines. Get balanced, accurate facts on the latest news in business, politics, entertainment, sports, and more. Live from our studios.
Many thanks for watching. Join us again at 9
Kaftan
p.m.
TV News.
Welcome back from that. This is still Joy and Sonia Live, where we're discussing the International Youth Day. It's been an interesting conversation. Like I said earlier, the numbers will be displayed on the screen so that you too can contribute to what we're discussing. And above everything, tell me what you want this day to culminate to. What would you want the government to take out of this? Well, in the studio, we have two very handsome gentlemen, by the way, who have been discussing this very important issue of youth development in Nigeria, especially digital pathways that the Nigerian youth can take. And that's where we've taken the conversation to. But before then, Terver, you had something to say about the civic education that young people need above everything so that they would know their left from their right.
Yes. So first of all, before I speak for NOA, on not really speaking for them, but it will amaze you to know that the budgeting for voters' education as well as orientation or civic education is domiciled in INEC, not even the NOA. The NOA has no budget for voters education. Likewise, it's a partnership that INEC is supposed to have in collaboration with NOA. So most of the issues that are always pushed towards NOA, saying NOA are not doing their work, most of these organizations, they are not actually partnering with NOA. They don't want to, you know how the system has been. Right. So they are not really interested in partnering with NOA. It will reduce their own operational cost, as well as it will much more of like this decentralized system. So, but first of all, on the issue of education, civic education is key to achieving most of the major issues we're having here in Nigeria. How many people even understand what the stanzas of the national anthem says? How many people put their country first, Nigeria, before any other thing? Not like the different orientation that has been done across other nations of the world. I don't even call America here. Let's start from Africa. We have countries that you put your country first, in the sense that you know that your country will always be there for you.
Right.
So it is a give and take.
You can't help but be patriotic to a country that is also giving so much.
Exactly. You know, you're being protected. Your rights are being protected. Your interests are being protected. Not just your right and interest. The whole community is a healthy environment to live in. So you must first start with orientation, education. It's a foundational issue. So without being a foundational issue, we will always have such issues. No accountability framework, unethical practices being done in the system, mismanagement of public funds and all that. These are some of the issues that I feel if we are able to change our orientations through education, fix the education system in Nigeria, fix the basic education system, let the local government do their basics, let them work, let the state governments do their due diligence on education, as well as the federal government. Then we will see improvements in not just orientation, but also in civic participation.
He seems very optimistic about education, advocacy, awareness being the one thing that will keep us from seeing that development we need. However, do you think the Nigerian youth is indeed ready? I mean, I was having a conversation with a House of Rep member who challenged me to say, give me 5 young people, go to the street, pick randomly 5 young, intelligent graduates and ask them if they have even gone through the budget, the 2024 budget. Ask them if they have even done anything to understand the workings of of their legislatures to even hold them to the kind of things they need. So awareness, education is important, but are we ready? Have we made the effort?
Well, there are a lot of effort towards that, but it may interest you to know that young people may not find it interesting for them going through the budget, because they consider those as a bogus document which may not have any impact on them. It was not, they were not in the process, or, you know, when you want to carry somebody along, if you want to design a house,
we have public hearings.
Yes.
We have public hearings. How many young people do
really
go there?
That is it. Now they believe that, some young people believe that once they go for the public hearing, it ends there. What will happen?
But let's know if your contribution will not work or work.
So I feel based on what he's saying, which to an extent, you know, for us that are a bit privileged, we even live in the township, and which we are much not up to, let's say, approximately 40 million of the population of the young people in Nigeria. I have things that are of passion to me that I'm interested to work in. Imagine I'm interested in education, you're interested in social justice. I can go to the budgeting for education. Put all my attention there.
Right. You don't have to go through all the bogus documents.
So I feel it's not an excuse for young people to say the document is too big, that I can't go through. You are interested in social justice. Go through the document, the section that reflects to you. Yeah. Push towards changes that reflects to you. There's always calls for public hearing. How many young people are interested to go? It's not as if young people are not doing great. We have a huge population deficit in Nigeria. The population is much. No matter how much you feel is being done, it equates to little.
Yeah, you're right. I've been part of a budget evaluation or budget analysis, where you have budget. We have to analyze the budget, see what is up for education. I have worked with on a project where we have to look at AMAC budget, where we see different kind of overlapping stuff. But as you can see, young people there are millions of young people in Nigeria, and when you take a survey or you do a mapping, you will see how many people are interested in the things of in advocacy or engaging in civil activism. Do you understand? Most young people may be interested on what actually will give them survival first. Do you understand? Like if you meet 10 young persons, if you interview them, what would they tell you?
Hungry day.
Yes, they will tell you they need to survive first. Is it not person where don't chug or go they analyze budget? They will first of all go look for.
Is that particularly a good thing for the trajectory of our young people?
They will first of all go look for what will put food on their table. Do you understand? So you just find few people who are passionate about these things, and those people that are passionate are actually trying their best to make sure that they get things done. But just like we said, we need more orientation beyond it just being patriotic. If you're a patriotic citizen, you will now look beyond what you eat at the moment, knowing that if you look at this budget and you analyze it and you push for it to be implemented, it will indirectly or directly impact you as well. Do you understand? So, but most young people are just struggling. Most of them are unemployed. They are looking for means to survive.
That's more reason. So I would have thought that would be a more reason.
They are looking for means to survive. So now, if you say, okay, let's look. The time you were looking to source for what he will get to, feed himself or his family and all of that. Or if you say, let's call for a public hearing for a young person who is unemployed to get to National Assembly. Do you know how much it will spend to get to National Assembly and come back? The person will say, if I go there, spend transport, go there, what will I, because I have worked with young people, I know their mindset, I understand how some of them reason. Because when you invite them for a program, they will ask you for, do you have transport for them? So something like that.
The worst isn't even when you invite them for a program. When you know, I've had conversations with young people who also contest elections, and they tell you that just gather young people and you want to tell them what plans you have for them, and after that they're like, "Na English we go chop."
That is
like,
it.
what do you have for us beyond all of this?
I feel I'm glad we are able to itemize that hunger is one of the causative factor towards why young people behave that way. That is to tell you they have understood what hunger is.
Yeah.
Do they understand what advocacy is?
Well, some of them to some extent understand.
I don't think they do. Let me give a very simple example here. People work towards what they understand. If I know I will get a result after doing 1 + 1 = 2, I will do 1 + 1 = 2.
Right.
If I know at the end of the day, if I miss my lunch, I will be hungry between 1 to 4 p.m. or 1 to 5 p.m. before dinner. I won't want to miss my lunch. And if I know there is going to be a result when I do 1 before doing 2, I'll certainly do 1 at all costs. What I'm trying to say is most of the young people you see, they don't really understand. Forget the fact that you see young people putting on ties or dressing decently or dressing nice or even carrying on briefcases. It's not everybody that understands. In fact, beyond understanding, basics. Ask people what is bailout fund. I can tell you 90% of the people, if not 95% of the people you meet on the street, they cannot tell you. Ask people what is minimum wage. Forget the fact that you hear people shout minimum wage. What is minimum wage? They can't tell you. They don't really understand. They just feel it is supposed to be something A or B. But give people the right information. If you equip young people,
and in fact, this protest opened to this
sure.
Half of them didn't even know exactly what they did. The only thing that could resonate with them is they were hungry.
Exactly, and that's why you heard most of the informations. You hear government say they did this. You say, you mean the government did this?
Yeah, they were,
because there's no information.
Right.
What is the knowledge sharing? There's a gap in knowledge sharing. There's a gap in information dissemination.
But I like why we've taken this conversation to digital information sharing. How can we ensure that these gaps, these lacunas that we have recognized in society, we use technology responsibly to settle these gaps, and then have a responsive and responsible government that prioritize, digital innovations and empowering young people instead of palliatives. I cannot say that enough how much I do not like the concept of palliatives. Now, how can we ensure that we tweak it? Give us sustainable development. Let's look at the many potentials in digital revolution than rice and beans.
I think just like we are in the world where digital innovation has come to play, so the world is now a global village. So in terms of, there are a lot that can be done, but I must say that young people need to also read. Young people also need to read. It's not about having phones, having big phones. Many young people have big phones, but they don't read. Because I know this from experience. I will open an application for people to apply for stuff. They won't read what is written on the application.
Right.
They will just go to fill the form. I say this application is for women. Men were filling the form because they did not read.
I mean, that happened to a group you and I are in.
Yes. They don't just read. They will just fill the form. So I think there's level where young people will begin to read. So when we cultivate the culture of reading, so you will not understand that you will be eager to read the budget. You will get to read what the government is saying and what is happening in the country. Because when you get information, you assimilate it. But in Nigeria, I think there's a lot of progress in terms of advancing digital technology. But young people need to, come on board to embrace those digital information. And just like I said, it's not about having big phone. It's about, utilizing the phones. There's a lot you can do with your phone, and there's a lot that can be done within this handset you have. it can give you a lot of information.
True.
Information sharing has become so easier. I was wondering how our forefathers did it when there was no much information and there were a lot of results achieved. Now talk of now there are a lot of information sharing via various digital platforms. But patience, people don't have patience. They just want to go quick. They just want to get things done quick. That's why they will just they will not come down to read what is written or what is on the news. That's why you see fake news spread faster. They will just read the headline forward. They will not come down to read the content of what is on the news. So for young people, I want to encourage young people to cultivate the culture of reading. Reading is very important because when you read, you get information, you'll be informed. Because if you are not informed, you cannot even engage the government.
That's true.
That's how you come to the table, you not know what to say. And the government will just trash you, will just you will be left with no.
That's true. But let me quickly come here. I mean, how did you feel when you read about the destruction and looting of the Digital Innovation Park in Kano? This is a setback. I mean, when we're talking about the ICT digitalization, and this is a huge setback.
So it was quite heartbreaking for me because I've been part of that project myself. And I'm working with NCC and NIDA to ensure that we provide equitable access to young people, most especially those who are affected by social divide, those who have no access to internet itself. And it's quite discouraging because I understand the frustrations of the young people from that climes, and it was really sad for me, being the fact that billions of naira were being sunk into that project, and I know what that project would have done within the next couple of years. We should have gotten not just digital contributors, but would have emancipated a lot of young people who would transit from just digital contributors to innovators. And by that, I'm still hopeful a lot will be done again, and I trust that it's insured, and I am hopeful when it comes back to being, we will be able to achieve beyond just access to young people's digital rights and education. And importantly, it is also a step in the right direction in the sense that the National Communications Commission has really tried its best to push in towards digital advancement.
Right.
So there is a Digital Global Compact, which we had already started discussing about, and we are looking forward to September when at the UN Summit of the Future, after the summit, how the nations of the world will push towards implementation of such compacts. For Nigeria, I have given my words to ensure we hold our leaders accountable. And for me, I will continue to sit on the same table with them, negotiate, and ensure we set not just an accountability framework, but a transparent accountability framework that checkmates all, and to ensure we give equal rights to adolescent boys and girls, as well as young men and young women in the country.
Okay, Ambassador Igweshi, what would you say about governors, not just always looking towards the federal, but governors or looking towards digital innovation for, sustainable development for young people? This is a catalyst, like they always say.
I think digital innovation is something that every government should pay attention to. Just like my colleague have said, the Ministry of Digital Communication are doing a lot, and there is a Africa Union digital transformation, strategy, and Nigeria is a signatory to that protocol, and there is other even ECOWAS digital transformational strategies are there, but Nigeria is also signatory to them. There are a lot of. We
are very good at being signatories.
Yes,
and signing treaties for international.
There are a lot of policies that will enhance digital transformation for Nigeria and for young people especially. But this challenge is how can we begin to hold our government accountable to implement them. There's a lot of there should be a lot of advocacy by young people, because if young people do not push for those advocacy for these policies to be implemented by their governors, by their, now that local government have autonomy, I think it's the right time for young people at the grassroots to begin to hold their local government chairmen accountable. They can also engage with dialogue, negotiation, and see how those digital innovation can begin to make impact in them.
Gentlemen, this has been wonderful. We've been talking about so much, talking about the International Youth Day. I love Nigeria so much. I'm constantly, constantly talking about the Nigerian youth and talking about Nigeria and how we can better our country. We've been discussing with Yager Benjamin Terver. I hope I got it better now.
No, worse than before.
You would forgive me. He's the Executive Director of Beyond Development for Africa's Youth Advancement Initiative. We also have Ambassador Austin Igweshi, Executive Director of Center for Peace Advocacy and Sustainable Development. It's been a wonderful conversation, but this is where we draw the curtains on Joy Asanye Live. We'll be back tomorrow with so much more, so do stay tuned. And for those who tried to reach out to us, I saw the calls come in, but the network was a bit lousy. We'll try again tomorrow. Have a restful evening.